Hello, guys, and welcome to the Marigold Standard, your weekly audio source of all things Dream Star Fighting Marigold. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin, and though you can't see his pretty face, he is there, Mr. Matt Turner. Matt Turner, how are you, good sir? Apart from freezing cold, I believe.
Yeah, I'm really good. But these last 2 days, I think when I left for the gym on Tuesday morning, it was -2. As we're recording this, it is Wednesday. It was -7, but it got up to 10 degrees. So it went up 17 degrees. So look out, I might open up the pool today. But no, I'm really good. Just for those who are wondering why, one, this is a super short episode, and two, how come they can't see my face? We are so busy, not just on the Stardom Cast, not just on the Marigold Standard, but my work is insanely busy. So I try to maximize every minute of my day. I'm literally doing this while I'm on my break, while I'm sitting in my pretty warm car. So I figured last week or earlier this week, we covered the 3 Marigold shows from the weekend, and we still had the Korakuen Hall show. So we figured we release a second Marigold Standard this week, a little bite-sized edition, as we kind of just focus just on this Korakuen Hall show. But brother, I'm good. I'm always good. Again, bad days do not exist in my world. You're looking absolutely dapper over there. I mean, just
Thank you very much.
Professor Rob Goodwin. But no, I'm good. How's has your leg gotten any better from your unscripted fight with Miko Ano? How's that going?
The bruise that's roughly the size of Madagascar on the inside of my thigh. It's become a couple more colours since we last spoke, but yeah, it's nowhere near as sore as it was on Monday. It's a bit of an eyesore to look at, really. I've got football practice tonight. We'll see if I get kicked again, and we'll see what colour my leg goes this time. But yeah, all fine now. Just a war wound. I think I'm getting too old for this, Matt. I think I'm getting too old for this whole sport thing. But this isn't something we haven't said before on this podcast. I think I'm just getting a bit old in the tooth, a bit long in the tooth.
No, never. Young at heart, my man. Young at heart. You still have your place one way or another, my friend. Still have your place one way. You got to stay young at heart. Clearly you are, by some of the juvenile jokes that we have each and every week on this and the Stardom Cast. So, I'm 42 going on 12, sometimes my wife says. So.
I do wonder, is there a difference between youthful and just childish? I don't know if there is a difference between those two, but we'll...
It's a fine line, brother, and goddamn, we walk it so well.
Really do. We really do. So yeah, as Matt said, this will be a short episode of the Marigold Standard. We did release another episode of this on Monday, where we went through the New Year Golden Garden nights 1, 2, and 3, including Utami Hayashi's successful Marigold World Championship title defense against Tank. So that is currently in the archives for you. We did say that we would have a little bit of a bonus episode to go through the Korakuen Hall show before the shows on the 25th and the 26th, which are both live on Wrestle Universe, and we'll whip through those cards that they've announced in a little bit. But before we do any of that, Matt, just a little smidgen of news. Nothing major, but this has been reported by your friend, Mr. Joshi himself, Mr. Scott E. Wrestling, who has reported that Chanyota and Nanae Takahashi will be having a singles match as Nanae Takahashi's retirement road does begin in earnest. They will be having a singles match billed as Final Passion at PPP Tokyo, which is, of course, Chanyota's home promotion. Chanyota, of course, Stardom fans might know from the New Blood tag team with Mai Sakurai, but she is facing Nanae at Shinjuku Face 6th of February. They did have a tag match last March, but the singles match was what Chanyota really wanted, and as Scotty's put it here, this will be great. Looking forward to it, Matt, and obviously it's becoming a little bit more real with each passing month that we're nearing the twilight of. In fact, we are in the twilight of Nanae Takahashi's career.
Yeah, this is a nice little spotlight here for Chan Yoda again, because we know that Nanae is about 4 months away from calling it an in-ring career and a Hall of Fame career at that, and that one of her final singles matches is going to be against somebody not from Stardom, somebody not from AEW, somebody not from Marigold, but from basically an independent in Chan Yoda. So nice little shot. Shot in the arm for Chan Yoda. That'll be something win, lose, or draw. We know it's going to be a lot of eyes on that match. And from the limited matches we've seen Chan Yoda have, she is very, very impressive. So, yeah, good on her. And that'll be a really fun, hard-hitting match when that happens in just a few days' time, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. My God, we are at the end of January. That's quite scary, actually, when you put it like that. I didn't quite realize how quickly this month had gone. But yes, let's kick straight into the main event. We're going to be looking, as I mentioned, at Marigold New Year Golden Garden 2025 night for Sunday, the 19th of January. And we are, of course, live and direct from Korakuen Hall. We do have English commentary again, Sonny Gutierrez and Stu Fulton on the call. And in terms of attendance, it was a success for Marigold. I think it's fair to say the announced attendance, 785 people. Just to give you an indication of where Marigold is in terms of Korakuen Hall attendances, this is the 11th Korakuen Hall show in Marigold history. It's a 10.9% increase on their previous house at Korakuen, which was back on Boxing Day of 2024. They drew 708 people. It's also the highest non-pay-per-view attendance since the 24th of October, which was the Korakuen Hall show main evented by the Marigold World Championship match between Sari and Bozilla, which drew 866 people. So a really solid attendance for Marigold, which seems to be finding its sort of niche when it comes to Korakuen Hall. Anywhere between sort of mid 700s to late 800s, I feel like is certainly the number they should be aiming at. I think if you put an Utami title defense on top of the card that we have here, I think you'd be looking at, more like 820, 830. But yeah, definitely a success for Marigold. Any sort of increase is great. And again, like I say, biggest attendance or non-pay-per-view attendance since October, Matt. So I think Marigold will be happy with that, won't they?
Yeah, pretty strong number. Obviously, coming off that fantastic first stream show at the beginning of this month. Yeah, you're absolutely right. No Utami, not only no Utami title match, kind of no Utami big match. No different. We're gonna get into it. No disrespect to Megaton, but she wasn't wrestling the Miko Anos or Mirai's of this world. So yeah, this show is really just based around the intrigue and the buzz that Marigold had coming off that fantastic first stream show again on the 3rd of January. And then, of course, the tag team championships, and then the first ever defense of the untitled, as you like to call from time to time, the United National Championship with Mai Sakurai taking on Nagisa Nozaki. So yeah, we made mention, I think, back at the end of the summer that they're probably looking to be anywhere between 750 to about like 890, and 10% increase. Good way to start off the year. Not only that, but you have to think just how sales goes worldwide after the holidays. One, it's cold. Two, people are still, reeling from Christmas, the Christmas spending. So not a lot of people spending money on tickets for pro wrestling, or really just in anything in general. It's just the way the economy works. But again, almost 800 people in Korakuen Hall with no big Utami championship match or big Utami match. Really good number for Marigold, and a really great way to start off this slew of Korakuen Hall shows we're going to be seeing them running in 2025.
Yeah, no Sari as well on this card, and that as well is sort of accented by the fact that we've got Nakoki Amare, who of course is still nursing that ACL tear. Again, hopefully looking to be back for May. No Kazuna Tanaka, no Komomo Minami, who we knew are both long-term injuries. Nagisa Takibana will also miss this show with a rib injury. And as we said, after injuring a knee in Osaka on the 11th of January, Hummingbird is also still missing and hasn't been announced for the shows on the 25th and the 26th either. So we wish her nothing but the best. However, in good news, and we always like good news, Riara returned on this show after missing the last 3 dates due to a bout of influenza. So there's always good news. Looking through those results then, we started with a singles match, Chiaki defeating Ryoko Sakamura, submitted with an Argentine backbreaker in 9 minutes and 6 seconds. In singles action, then Chika Goto defeated Minami Yuki with a really impressive gut wrench choke slam variation in 7 minutes and 25 seconds. Tag team match, Naho Ishikawa and Rhea Seto defeated Naho, Yamada, and Riara. Naho Ishikawa breaking out a reverse tiger driver, it's been labeled as by Shupro. It looked pretty much like a swinging STO, but we'll go with the reverse tiger driver for now in 7 minutes and 5 seconds. In a great tag team match, Mirai and Misa Matsui defeated Natsumi Shozuki and Mika Wano. Misa Matsui getting a key pinfall over Natsumi Shozuki, former Superfly champion, with the MMD in 12 minutes and 46 seconds. Singles match, Utami Hayashishita defeated Megaton with the air raid crash in 5 minutes and 30 seconds. I'm going to ignore the Megaton slander that Matt decided to dole out, saying that's not a big match. Marigold Superfly Championship match up next. The second champion, Victoria Yuzuki, successfully defending her championship for the first time against Yuki Mashiro. Yuzuki getting the win with the cross-arm suplex in 8 minutes. Semi-main event, Marigold United National Championship. Marigold, Mai Sakurai, my God. Mai Sakurai defeated Nagisa Nozaki to achieve her first successful title defense, breaking out the glorious driver for the win in 16 minutes and 2 seconds, which I really like as a finish. And we're going to talk a little bit about that later on, and also how well Stu and Sonny did during that match as well, getting over the story. And the Twin Star Championships in the main event, we have brand new champions, the fourth Twin Star champions, Nanae Takahashi and Seriyamoka defeated Bozilla and Tank. Seriyamoka getting the pin with a German suplex on Tank, which is very impressive, in 19 minutes and 32 seconds. Nanae Takahashi becoming the oldest champion in Marigold's short history. Seriyamoka, the youngest, which is quite a nice parallel between the pair. But yes, those are the results. Matt Turner, let's dive straight into this, and we'll start with Chiaki and Ryoko Sakamura. Last episode, we were full of praise for Ryoko Sakamura and how she's sort of taken on that mantle of opening the shows because of the injury of Nagisa Takibana. She's been sort of the sole rookie, and I think she's done a really good job. I think here Chiaki made her performance less. It was less about the moves here and more about the performance. Chiaki dominated, obviously. Let her get a little bit in, but because Chiaki is the de facto heel, Ryoko Sakamura's babyface performance, I think, was improved dramatically just by wrestling a heel, and I think she did really well here. I think she ran out of a little bit of steam towards the end, Sakamura, but again, to be expected. This is her 5th ever match, and considering that fact, considering again that she's wrestled 5 matches, I think she looked very, very good here. And another solid performance from Chiaki as well.
Yeah, again, Ryoko, she's basically opening match Ryoko. I mean, I think it was the 3 shows we reviewed on Monday. She was in the opener in all 3 of those matches. And this is a simple story to tell. You have your rookie babyface against your heel that's a former champion of this company, an ass kicker. She's got really great heel psychology. And it's basically like, Chiaki does a good job getting Sakamura shined up in the beginning. Then we have like a long heat. And yeah, you're right. Towards the end, maybe I think she might have ran out a little bit of gas. I think Chiaki was able to pick that up pretty well, knowing that she had to carry this finish. Again, you're right. This is her 5th singles match. So, but ultimately, though, it's a solid enough match to kind of get the crowd warmed up. I had it at 3 stars. And nice seeing Chiaki win with the Argentine backbreaker. Or for you WCW fans in the 90s, the torture rack, my friend, because I like that hold, and I like it how Chiaki sets it up.
Absolutely, the total package Chiaki, I think, is definitely the gimmick we need to be breaking out here.
TPC, we may refer to her as
TPC. I like that. Chika Goto and Minami Yuki next, and you see these sort of early lower card matches, and you think, okay, it's going to be okay. I'm looking forward to the championship matches. I'm looking forward to the tag team match between, Team Mirai versus Team Mika Wano. And yet this really, really surprised me. It seems like since Chika Goto has come back from that sternum injury, and even perhaps since the injury to Koki Amare, where you could see she was visibly annoyed by the fact that the match got cut short. Obviously, I'm sure not with Koki Amare. You don't deliberately tear an ACL. But it seems to have lit a fire under Chika Goto. And I think she's reaping the benefits because I thought she looked great here. And again, credit to Manami Yuki, who we were singing the praises of on the last episode. I think both these women put on a bit of an underrated match here.
Yeah, this was really good. And I always say, Rob, you want to start your show off with a hot match with especially characters that are over. I would put this match on first. Again, no disrespect to Chiaki and Ryoko Satomura, but she's a rookie. And, said it was an okay match. But this was really good, where Manami Yuki's really starting to get traction with the fans, especially in Korakuen Hall. And Chika Goto's pretty much been over in Korakuen Hall since like their third or fourth match. But you're absolutely right. Chika Goto came back from her injury. She was refreshed. It's one thing to, like, if you hurt your knee and you have to take off 4-6 weeks and you're healing your knee, but not only do you heal your knee, you're healing your mind. You're healing any other bumps or bruises that you have along the way. But yeah, you're right. Like, not only does she seem like she has a chip on her shoulder since she came back from her injury, but we mentioned it earlier this week when we were recording that she has a chip on her shoulder, considering the fact she didn't get the match that she wanted in that first dream match against Koki Amare because of the obvious injury. And it's almost like she's taking upon herself saying, you know what, that was a missed opportunity, and not because of anybody's fault. Unfortunately, injuries happen. That was a missed opportunity. I'm going to bet on myself, and I'm going to be better each and every outing. This was great. I mean, the bell rings, and these two start throwing bombs. And I'm like, okay, this is what this match is. I'm in. I sat up really, really more high on my chair because this is my style of wrestling. And Koki and Manami Yuki really, really brought it. Great back and forth action. And I like how Manami Yuki is really working in that hammerlock guillotine. She tries to get it early in the match. She finally gets it. She gets it. She got Chika Goto in the middle of the ring. And what does Chika Goto do? She gets her in the giant swing. I thought that was such a really
I
cool
thought it was
spot.
really good transition, yeah.
Yeah, really cool spot because she's trying to work it in early. She finally gets it, and she gets it in, and she gets the pop. And just as the crowd is coming down from the pop, we get Chika Goto with a giant swing, which is like her really cool move. So then you brought the crowd up, down, and back up again. Really great crowd psychology from these two younger wrestlers. Between the two of them, their combined experience really isn't that high, but they understand crowd psychology, especially in Korakuen Hall early on. And then we see Chika Goto going, winning with a new move, almost like a pump handle suplex. So I really like that. 3.5 stars, great stuff. Manami Yuki is very much like Ria Seto, Kamamo Manami, Kazuna Tanaka, somebody that starts in this company, obviously very early in the career, and is starting to pick up some knowledge fast and furious. And again, Chika Goto is somebody that they can definitely tag as to put in for like a main event or a co-main event on some of these Wrestle Universe shows. Yeah, really great stuff. And the match was really over with the crowd. Excellent stuff from these two. Again, 3.5 stars.
Yeah, really, really impressed with this. Really impressed with it. Moving on to the tag team match now, Ishikawa and Rhea Seto defeating Naho Yamada and Riara. Now, obviously, this is the first time we've seen Riara out of a battle royal setting. She was obviously a part of that battle royal at First Stream. She was supposed to be on the first 3 shows, but as I mentioned at the top of the review, that she had a bout of influenza. The English commentary team actually told us that Riara went to a Marigold tryout, passed that tryout, and obviously that is why she is on these shows. I think they said that she's a freelancer from Gambear Pro, did they say? I'm pretty sure it was Gambear Pro, but I could be wrong. But obviously she's tried out for Marigold. She's passed that trial or that tryout. It does seem like we might be getting more Riara on these shows. And Matt, I'm absolutely fine with that. I think Riara is a solid hand. I think her and Naho Yamada worked really, really well together. But again, Naho Yamada, we spent an hour and 50 minutes on Monday talking about Marigold, and I reckon an hour of that was talking about how much we are enjoying Naho Yamada. That passion is so infectious. It's so intoxicating. She bursts into Korakuen Hall, like literally sprints into Korakuen Hall, full tilt, singing her entrance theme, sprinting round the ring, in tune as well. inch, which is impressive when you're running at that. And it just translates to everything in the ring. Everything she does, the crowd are so into because they're so into her as a character because she's so easy to get behind. I thought Rhea Seto, again, those submission moves and the way she's getting into those submission moves, seamless. So much better. And again, that was picked up by commentary, as was the new gear. And they are absolutely right. She does look like $1 million in this new gear. And again, Naho Ishikawa is always a delight whenever she's in the ring. Obviously, all the women did a really good job here. But first of all, Matt, before you go into anything else, are you excited to see more Riara in your Marigold?
Yeah, I thought she was good. She was terrific. She brought the Paradise Lock in, which obviously Mai Sakurai really doesn't use that much anymore because now she's a main eventer and she's using more of the high impact offense. So I like the Paradise Lock. Yeah, I like, hey, sometimes you got to change things up, my friend. But sometimes instead of throwing jabs, you got to throw haymakers. And it's obviously working for one Mai Sakurai. But I thought she was good. She fits the role here really well. Again, we made mention on the show earlier this week that Marigold, the roster is taking a beating with all these injuries and sickness. And it is, again, it is January, so it is flu season. So Riara is somebody that really fits into this roster pretty well. So she's somebody that I'm sure Rossi looks at as, again, obviously she's independent. She's a freelancer, but at any given time, they can tap her on the shoulder for a few shows because she fits in really well. And her and Naho Yamada as a team had instant chemistry even before the bell rang, just on their entrance alone. Again, we may rename this podcast to the Marigold Naho Yamada standard because, again, we're just massive fans of her. And I always say it's one thing to be good from bell to bell. It's one thing to be entertaining curtain to curtain. And Naho Yamada, from the moment she steps out of that curtain, you're getting an entertaining, great pro wrestler. And again, her and Riara, their entrance together, because Riara is obviously very, very charismatic. She's got the champagne bottle. I thought she was great from just this one actual match we saw her in. And again, look on the other side, Rhea Seto. We're dubbing her the American Dragon because she reminds me so much with those transition submissions of like 03, 05 Ring of Honor Bryan Danielson, which is a huge compliment. And we love us some Naho Ishikawa, especially in Korakuen Hall, because boy howdy, they love her. Korakuen Hall loves them some Naho Ishikawa. Yeah, really, really solid match. A really great tag match here as we're getting to go into the next tag match, which we'll talk about in a minute. Again, Naho Ishikawa is somebody that I can see them really pumping up the card in the next few months. And again, somebody I would love to see in the Dreamstar Grand Prix. Got to win here. I wish she would have won with that Takayama style German suplex because that just looks nasty, but she debuted a new move here, which is cool. We're adding more moves into the arsenal of Naho Ishikawa as she's starting to pick up some wins. But yeah, solid enough outing. I was thoroughly entertained for the 7 minutes that this was on my screen. 3.5 stars for me from all these 4 fantastic wrestlers.
Yeah, and I think Riara has come at the right time because we talked about the roster being ravaged somewhat by injury, and it's all wrestlers that would be on that mid card that are missing, with the exception of Koki Amare, Hummingbird, Komomo Minami, Kazuna Tanaka, Nagisa Takibana. All these wrestlers are undercard wrestlers that you would have in these sorts of matches. So Riara coming in to fill that gap has really, really been a blessing. Even if she did take a champagne bottle to the head for her trouble, I had to rewind that because I genuinely halfway through the match I was like, Riara's bleeding. When did she bleed? And it turns out, and honestly, I shouldn't laugh because genuinely I don't know if she's okay, but it tickled me because she's sitting and I think had she got Rhea Seto in the Paradise Lock, and I think she was sitting on her with the champagne bottle, and now Ishikawa drop kicks her in the back, and she drops the champagne bottle, and she falls. But as she falls, the champagne bottle rebounds off the canvas and smacks her in the face. Credit to her because it does bleed a lot. She carries on with the match as though nothing's happened, which, again, mark of a true professional. But yeah, tickled me a little bit, perhaps more than it should have done. Moving on then to what we knew was going to be great and was one of the matches of the night, without a shadow of a doubt, the tag match. Mirai and Misa Matsui, who are huge dart players, who knew, against Miko Ano and Natsumi Shizuki. And I really, really enjoyed the sort of commentary note about how the frustration, really nailing home that frustration, especially in Miko Ano and Natsumi Shizuki. Now, it's been sort of bubbling for a while that Natsumi Shizuki, even during her Superfly run, was sort of feeling undervalued, wasn't on the posters, things like that, despite being a champion. Now she's lost that belt, and you could see her and Miko Ano, of course, who's just lost that white belt to Mai Sakurai. You can see the frustration just slowly creeping in. And if this is a premise around which they bond, and this is how we get the team between the pair and a subsequent Twin Star run, I am all for that, Mr. Tip.
Yeah, they did it. You just mentioned it. They did a great job talking about how Misa Matsui can knock it over the hump that is Natsumi Shizuki. And not only does she get a win here, she gets a win on the first Korakuen show, and in what my opinion was the best match on this show. Rob Goodwin and our listeners of the Marigold Standard, it's another week in Joshi. It's another must-see tag match. This is a absolute must-see tag match between these four great wrestlers. Again, Mirai, we know she's great singles wrestler. Obviously, tag team her, Mai Sakurai, the first Twin Star champions. They were terrific. Considering Misa Matsui and Mai Sakurai wrestle completely different styles, yet Mirai is able to challenge her teamwork with the Speed Star and Misa Matsui and have a phenomenal tag match to literally the point where we're like, because we know obviously the team of Nanae Takahashi and Sari Omiyaka, they're not going to have a long tag run because Nanae is retiring in a few months. So you're looking at who's going to be your next tag champs, as again, we're kind of hot potato in these belts here. Who's going to be your next tag champs to kind of have that long run? And when this match was going like halfway through, I was like, Miko Ano, she's not a champion anymore. She lost the belt on the same day that Natsumi did just a few weeks ago. And we made mention that a couple months ago with Miko and Natsumi making it to the finals of the Twin Star tournament. I thought they were absolutely great. Literally the point where I emailed our buddy Sonny and I said, whose brilliant idea was putting Miko Ano and Natsumi Shizuki together? Because not only are they great, they're like one of my favorite tag teams in all of wrestling, which is saying something because I love tag team wrestling. And I think that I was like halfway through this match, I was like, I think that's the way to go. And then we're ramping up towards the end. I was like, I wouldn't say no to a Mirai and Misa Matsui tag run because they were great here. Yeah, this was terrific wrestling. Great stuff back and forth. You have the hard-hitting action with Mirai and Miko Ano. We have Natsumi and Misa Matsui. Again, these wrestlers, they do have a history with each other. And then when we kind of switch it up a little with Miko Ano and Misa Matsui, their exchanges were terrific. And then Natsumi and Mirai, their exchanges were great. Great tag work between both teams, just great back and forth stuff to the point where I didn't know who was going to win. And I really thought it was Miko Ano and Natsumi Shizuki because they're kind of the more established team. But I was like, oh, this makes sense. Let's start building up Misa Matsui. Why not? So she does get the win here with the basically back-to-back MMDs. I have two small complaints about this match, Rob Goodwin. This match went a little under 13 minutes. I wish it would have went 18 or 19. And my other complaint, Mirai takes darts and starts poking them in the back of the head, I believe, of Natsumi Shizuki. Where is the disqualification? We can't be doing that. Obviously, I'm completely joking about that part. I thought that was funny. I thought for someone who is in sales and merchandising, I thought it was great they came out with the darts. And the fact that Sonny and Stu put it over on commentary, and I think it was Sonny saying, you can get them on the website right now. I'm like, that is perfect product placement. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see. Great. So again, I didn't know they were dart players either until obviously Sonny and Stu, once again, another home run that they hit on this entire show. But I believe it was Sonny saying, you can get those on the website right now. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. It's right there in front of my face. I'm like, if anybody's like, oh, I would like to get those. How do I get them? Boom. You were told right there on commentary. I thought that was really good. Again, for somebody that's in sales and merchandising, it's how I make my living. I thought it was great product placement. Great match. I do wish this would have went closer to 20 minutes, but regardless, to the 13 minutes. Again, that's my small complaint. Again, this is a must-see tag match. You know, from not just the Marigold, but in pro wrestling. This is my favorite match on the show, 4.25 stars. This was terrific. And the fact that I have more questions than answers coming off with these two teams, that's a good thing, because what's going to happen with Mirai and Misa Matsui? What's going to happen with Natsumi and Mikawano? Do we team them up and give them a run? I'm really excited, and I'd love to see these two running back. Maybe that's the only reason why I went 13 minutes, Rob. Maybe they are planning for a big championship match somewhere in the summertime, and where they may give these two teams 17, 18 minutes to tell their story, because I would love to, like, it left me wanting more, which is what you want. It's not a blow off of a feud. It's a middle of the card tag match. It left me wanting more. Like, ooh, if they rematch this at Korakuen Hall or KBS Hall or whatever, I am all there for it. And that's just really good booking. Again, 4.25 stars, my favorite match from the show.
Yeah, it was great. And I think the fact that you got 3 former champions in there in Mirai Mikawano and Natsumi Shiozuki, we've been, singing the praises, as have most fans of Marigold, of Misa Matsui, and to see her get the pinfall, a definitive pinfall over the former Superfly champion, felt like a really impactful and real statement victory for the start of 2025. And obviously she would parlay that into a championship opportunity a little bit later on. That's something that I want to talk to you about, because I'm intrigued on your opinion with that. Moving on then. And Matt Turner, you talked about your favorite matches on the card. And it's not very often you see a match that is so rife with hard-hitting action, with an unparalleled brutality, storytelling. You're questioning your own existence almost, because the storytelling is that in depth. And I think full credit to both of them, but especially Megaton, who put on perhaps one of the greatest wrestling performances I've ever seen out of any wrestler in the world. You can keep your Misawa and Kawadas, you can keep your, 4 Pillars of Heaven, you can keep your CM Punk and John Cena, your Okada and Omega. This right here, this 5 minutes and 20 seconds of wrestling gold is what wrestling is all about, Matt Turner.
I think it went 5 minutes and 19 seconds too long. Again, we pride ourselves on being a positive podcast. Obviously, Rob is having some fun, because I just think this was a waste of Utami's Korakuen Hall booking. You kind of have, and I don't want to be overcritical, because I love Marigold. I love the people that work there. I'm the massive fan of Utami Hayashishita. You're building this company around Utami Hayashishita. You get your one Korakuen Hall show a month, which is basically your one big show a month. Tommy's just coming off this 5-star instant classic match of the year candidate against Sari back at First Stream a few weeks ago. This is your first time seeing the new leader of this company in Korakuen Hall. And I understand if you don't want to make a red belt match, that's fine. But this is what we got. Okay. I've been rating matches, in writing for a long time now. This is the first time I ever wrote, how can I possibly rate this? ?
I understand that entirely. It did get over with a live crowd, though. And obviously, yes, it is your Red Belt champion. What you've got to remember, I'm not defending this match. I didn't rate this match. Would I have preferred it to have been anyone else against Megaton in this singles match? Yes, I would have, if I'm being honest. But again, you were looking for a 5-minute comedy match. You got a 5-minute comedy match. The crowd were into it. The live crowd were into it. And, we heard months ago that quite often Japanese companies, in fact, most of the time, Japanese companies are far more bothered about what is happening live in the venue. And again, Utami was getting booed because Megaton was getting her absolute ass handed to her. So again, you got the reaction out of a Korakuen Hall crowd. Is it a match I'm going to be going back and watching? Absolutely bloody not. Do I hope that the next Korakuen Hall show we get an Utami red belt defense? Absolutely. Again, it was a throwaway match. We don't really need to say anything more about it. How Megaton fits with Bozilla and Tank moving forward is going to be really interesting. And obviously, now that alliance seemingly is disintegrated, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with her as a character. But we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. 5 stars from me. Victoria Yuzuki versus Yuki Mashiro. This was unironically fantastic. I think Victoria Yuzuki, and again, Sonny Gutierrez pointed this out on commentary often. We sometimes see Yuzuki, and again, who is only a year into her career, and is phenomenal. She will sometimes write checks her body can't cash. And it's so, they even brought up Mayu Iwatani about 4 times in this match. With all of the discourse about where Mayu Iwatani is going to be at the end of this year, I thought that was quite funny. But yeah, she's channeling Mayu Iwatani to the point where she's even writing the checks her body can't cash, like I mentioned. But here, everything she tried was really, really good. Everything was smooth. Everything was solid. And it does make you appreciate just how good Yuzuki is. And, we talked a little bit about being a prodigy when she was in Stardom. And I think we saw it here. She was able to put together so much of what she's been trying to do in Marigold in this 8-minute match. Yeah, there was a little bit of a snafu with the finish. I don't know whether the shoulders went down correctly or what it was, but I don't care because they fixed it almost instantly. I thoroughly enjoyed this match. I think Yuki Mashiro, I know that she's a freelancer. I know that she has left Ice Ribbon and she has just dropped the Ice Infinity Championship. I'd love to see her back in Marigold as well, Matt.
Yeah, she was great here. Again, considering the fact I know next to nothing about her. The first time I ever saw her wrestle was just at the Rumble that she won this basically kind of #1 contenders match here. So I went in not knowing much about her, but knowing the fact that she's getting a championship match in Korakuen Hall for Marigold means obviously that Rossi definitely believes in her. And she was great. And this is the first singles match I've ever seen her have. She was terrific. And I didn't know, I thought she was still with Ice Ribbon, but now that she's a freelancer, this is somebody, if I'm Rossi Ogawa, I signed to a contract as soon as possible. Again, you're trying to flush out your roster a little bit more, especially with some more experienced wrestlers. And again, Yuki's terrific. She was great. Her and Victoria Yuzuki, they had great chemistry. It reminded me of some of those great Natsupoi versus Starlight Kid high-speed championship matches from 2020 and 2021. Like just instant chemistry between the two. I can see these two having a long program if they do sign Yuki to a full-time deal, because I thought that was great. Obviously, Victoria Yuzuki, she's constantly adding more and more weapons into her arsenal. The fact that now she's using that straight jacket German suplex as her finisher, because we know she had the rolling arrow, which is, again, that's kind of your flash pin. We did see her win the championship just a few weeks ago with that top rope moonsault, but she kind of needs that one big suplex that we see so many Joshi wrestlers use. Mayu with the 2-step dragon, Tam with the tiger suplex, so on and so forth. Utami with the deadlift German. So she kind of need like that one big bomb move that pretty much anybody can take. And I think she's found that with the straight jacket German suplex. Again, this was terrific. These two fit each other really, really well. Some great back and forth action. I figured that Victoria Yuzuki would have retained here because it's her V1. She just won the belt. But there was a couple times there I was like, they had me going for a half a second or two. I was like, maybe they'll pull the trigger and get a shock upset win here in Korakuen Hall. But ultimately, Yuzuki puts Yuki away at the 8-minute mark. 3 3/4 stars for me, a really good way for Victoria Yuzuki to start off her run as the Superfly champion.
Yeah, this is exactly the way she needed her run to go. This is exactly the way she needed that run to start. So I'm really glad she had that big emphatic singles win in a great match. Now, obviously, after this, Misa Matsui came out, laid out Victoria Yuzuki with the Misa Kawai driver, and basically said, I'm going to be challenging next. Big fan of that. Now, what I'm intrigued to get your opinion on is, I think we both believe that Misa Matsui is the heir apparent to this Superfly Championship. Whether it's next, which I think it should be. Are you burning through her challenge too soon? Or do you think that the next time we see her in a title match against Yuzuki, they go to a time limit draw, Yuzuki carries on, and then we get that big Misa Matsui win? Because I feel like, having already lost twice for the title, another loss in a relatively short space of time could potentially be quite damaging to Misa Matsui.
You have to look at this as a double-edged sword, right? Like, I understand your point because we don't want to be burning through, keep flip-flopping the championship, because that's kind of what we're doing with the Twin Star. Do we want to be doing that with another championship? And obviously, there's a lot of stock in Victoria Yuzuki. She had the first ever match in Marigold history with Nanae Takahashi. She's somebody that obviously the company's going to be building around for years and years and years to come, and rightfully so. She's terrific. So do you, pardon me, do you end her first championship run off really fast? You're probably going to say no. However, Rob, we take a step back and look at this as if it's a shoot, right? We're going to call it as a shoot. We're going to kayfabe this, brother and sisters. Misa Matsui just prior to this got the biggest win of her career, finally defeating the person she couldn't beat before, Natsume Shozuki. So where is her confidence? You think about it. If you keep losing to somebody over and over again, you finally beat them in front of almost 800 people in Korakuen Hall in a match that has Mirai, former Wonder Stardom champion, in a match as Miko Ano, the first United National Championship. Your confidence is super high. And what's the belt that you're targeting right now in your career? Super Flyweight Championship. Why wouldn't you come out and make this challenge? So again, you can look at two different ways. I understand it from Misa Matsui from the psychology aspect. I got the biggest win of my career. I finally got over the hump that couldn't get over in the last 6 months. Now it's a straight shot between me and the championship. All I have to do is defeat Victoria Yuzuki, and that's what I'm going for. So I'm one of two minds there. Does Misa lose, and then do they run this back in 2, 3, 4, 5 months, and then Misa gets the win? That's a possibility. But the way I look at it, if Victoria Yuzuki wins, that's a win for the fans because she's great. If Misa Matsui wins, that's a win for the fans because we know that this division needs to be built around her because she is so perfect for it. So it's a win-win situation as long as the match is good, which we know it's going to be. Again, I think that they need to do this match at the next Korakuen Hall because you already planted the seeds. This angle, you started this angle in Korakuen Hall. It needs to be paid off in Korakuen Hall, whether that's in February or March. But regardless, it's Misa Matsui, it's Victoria Yuzuki for the Super Flyweight Championship. Just tell me when and where to be, and I'll be sitting in my chair watching this one, my friend.
Unless it's in Vegas, in which case you will be there live.
Standing.
Standing, absolutely. Moving on then to your semi-main event, Mai Sakurai defending the untitled against Nagisa Nozaki. Now, credit again to Stu and Sonny because I wasn't critical. I didn't think that the match needed the 10 million yen sort of stakes as well as the title match. And the way that sort of it came across in the press conference, and especially the way that Mai Sakurai was then posting stuff online, it was almost making her a heel. And I was like, do we need that really? Is there not just enough with the title? And actually, I hold my hands up. I didn't realize it was actually Nagisa Nozaki's idea. I didn't realize she'd questioned Mai Sakurai's status and, was basically calling her out as fake and things like that. So I'll hold my hands up to that. Did not realize. So there we go. It does make a little bit more sense. Now, Nagisa Nozaki coming out with the tiniest briefcase in the world really made me laugh because I was like, has she just written a check? But yes, that aside, I really enjoyed the fact, and this was something that we talked about not long ago, that Nagisa Nozaki was on a collision course with Julia from that first Noah show when the Marigold roster came out, and you had Marigold versus Noah on, was it Noah Magic?
Monday Magic. Don't they call it Monday Magic? Yeah.
Something like that, anyway, at Ryogoku in May. And Nagisa Nozaki and Julia were the pair that had to be separated. And Mai Sakurai was sort of the speed bump on the way to Nagisa Nozaki versus Julia. And obviously, Julia got injured at Marigold Fields Forever. She's now obviously in NXT, where she's NXT Women's Champion. So we never got that singles match. But the fact that we are still having that storyline on top of the fact as well that Mai Sakurai won this match with Julia's old finish. So we had a lot of different facets for this match, and it made it really, really entertaining. Now, you strip all of that away, we still had a really good match. Both these women just hit each other very, very, very hard. Both women have a really, really good submission game as well. I think Nozaki is really underrated. Because every time she's been given the tap on the shoulder in Marigold, she has delivered. That match with Miko Ano for the white belt was great. This match here was great. She had some really good matches during the Dreamstar Grand Prix. Again, did this need the bounty? I'm not entirely sure. Chiaki running off with this at the end and then saying, I'll give it you if you give me the belt, seems to be the way of Chiaki getting herself a title shot, which is unorthodox, but it's different. And I said on Monday, I'm more than happy for Chiaki to be given that, given that tap on the shoulder, give her a chance at getting the spotlight. But yeah, I thought this was really good fun. I enjoyed this match. 4 stars from me. And again, I'll hold my hands up. Didn't realize it was Nozaki that started it.
Rob, when I was in high school and college and I was dating Lily's mom, she would carry around a little case, very much like Nagisa had, but it was full of makeup, not 100 million yen. But so I was like, what? And I completely forgot. Again, I just been so insanely busy. I forgot this was for 100 million yen. And again, kudos to Sunny and Stu, who obviously they're from different countries. So they were basically saying, well, in my country, it's worth this much. In my country, it's worth that much. So I like how they were able to do some currency transposition there, which I thought was really, really funny. This match, right? Because again, this match had so much venom going into it. Like, not only is it a championship match, not only is it for 10 million yen, it's also for like who is the better wrestler. And Nagisa, again, she's the heel here. Mai Sakurai is your cool new baby face, that our big baby face now that we just crowned as your pure white belt champion. And she's coming off an incredible run these last few months, and I couldn't be any more happy for her. But Nagisa gets the jump, and then Mai Sakurai quickly disposes of Nagisa. She goes to the top rope for a dive like 30 seconds in the match, and I was like, oh boy, here we go. And then Nagisa properly challenged Sabu and just Sabu's a chair. Right to Mai Sakurai. By the way, Sabu is actually retiring at the Joey Janela spring break, so in Vegas. So if things line up, we might have to go see Sabu's final match. But regardless, another story for another day. I mean, these two are dropping bombs back and forth. There's one point in time as you're building towards the finish of the match where Nagisa locks in the Cobra Clutch and just properly drops Mai Sakurai on the top of her head. I was like, geez, that was like all Japan. That was all Japan King's Road style, really dangerous and just great stuff. Again, this is just bomb back and forth, back and forth. We eventually see the Shining Buster and the Goodwin elbow drop. Every time she hits it, I was like, please say it on commentary. They never do, but regardless, hits the Goodwin elbow drop.
Do not.
Then Mai Sakurai brings back the My Pan roll, which she doesn't really use that often. Chiaki pulls the referee for my semi-main event. I thought there might have been a little bit too much interference in this. Majority of it wasn't in front of the ref. So it's like, I always like that. If you're going to cheat, don't do it in front of the ref. But I thought there's a little bit too much of the chair shots to the head. Again, whether those chairs are gimmick, I don't know, but my feeling on that with concussions and CTE. But regardless, great stuff back and forth. Sakurai hits the Shining Black and then into the STF, which is what she's been using as her back-to-back for finishes. So I thought that was going to be the finish. Nagisa does a great job, especially as a heel, getting to the ropes to save the match. And then we kick into another gear. But finally, it's Mai Sakurai able to hit another Shining Black and her version of the STO. And she follows that up with the Glorious Driver, which I like that. I like that we're getting now this, almost super finisher from Mai Sakurai using Julia's Glorious Driver for the 3 count. I'm right with your partner, 4 stars. And I like the fact that, a year and a half ago, if you're telling me Mai Sakurai is going to go over 15 minutes in a singles match and have a great match, I would be like, you're nuts. I'm like, you're out of your mind. She's great as a tag wrestler. She's great in short sprints. But she had so many great matches that went like around 15 or that were around 13, 14 minutes in the Dream Star. She had that match with Julia and Julia's final singles match before she left to go to NXT in this building that I think went over 20 minutes. It was a long match and it was excellent. She had a great long match with Miko Ano. at First Stream where she won this championship, and she goes 16 minutes here with Nagisa Nozaki, and this was absolutely terrific. My only complaint is I think this should have been the main event. I think this should have been the main event. And obviously, the main event was great, don't get me wrong, but I think you need to, especially for your V1, you need to establish Mai Sakurai as your second behind Utami Hayashishita, as who you're building the company around, and it helps build the belt up a little bit more. Very much like we saw Rossi do with the Wonder of Stardom Championship. That belt was defended in the main event on some big shows over some big matches. Regardless, I thought this was terrific. Great stuff. We're continuing the story. Maybe we're going to get Chiaki versus Mai Sakurai singles match somewhere down the road. That's where it seems to be building. But excellent stuff. I am all on board for the Mai Sakurai untitled championship. Again, 4 stars for me. And she is, in my opinion, the most improved wrestler over these last 12 months. Just unbelievable. Great stuff.
Well, let's talk about this main event then. So the Twin Star titles have changed hands. I know that you are not a fan of the hot potatoing of it, and we'll talk about that in a moment. I didn't mind this being the main event. You were telling a very emotional story here. You know, can Nanae Takahashi get that one title run to ride off into the sunset with it? And you've got that juxtaposition between a wrestler at the end of their career, in the twilight of their career, and a wrestler right at the start of their careers. They come together. They have chemistry, really good chemistry. You've got the mentor, the mentee, and I think that story, it needed to be the main event. It really did, because that big sort of catharsis at the end, especially when Seri Yamaoka, who is 5 matches into her career, is able to hoist Tank, who is not a small woman, into a bridging German suplex, pretty much deadlifting her into it as well. It's a huge sort of emotional thing. And my worry would have been, had you then followed that with Mai Sakurai and Nagisa Nozaki, is that going to be overshadowed by the win we've just seen? And it was, we had something similar with, if you remember, Utami Hayashishita and Saya Kamatani at Budokan, where, yes, that's the World of Stardom Championship. And, people were very upset that it didn't main event. But ultimately, how do you follow a hair versus hair match with all of that drama? You don't want to get lost, on the sort of come down from the emotion. So I don't mind this main eventing. I think ordinarily the United National title would have main evented. Here, under special circumstances, I don't mind that. I don't mind this at all. And you are setting the importance of all titles. Because again, unfortunately, tag titles are seen as secondary to singles titles. And that's in every company. But, to have this big cathartic moment for the tag titles, I think did real wonders for it. And the match was really good as well. I'm going to talk a little bit about Seri Yamaoka, obviously, but I thought Nanae and Bozilla were so good in this match. They were the linchpins around which this match could happen. Thought they were tremendous. Their chemistry was great. Bozilla, she's so damn just charismatic. She's so over with the crowd. She's supposed to be a heel. She's flipping people off. Why is she so over? The answer, because she's brilliant. But Seri Yamaoka, you could be forgiven, having been an amateur wrestler, for thinking she would just come into a ring, do her suplexes, do her moves, and just be very sort of stoic almost. And yet she's getting those facials and that emotion down. And after 5 matches, it's so good. The desperation when she's being buffeted from pillar to post by first Bozilla and then by Tank, the look of agony as she's being locked in these submission holds, as she's being kicked and struck and thrown around. I think you can see why Marigold are so hot on her. You can see why, Shu and Sonny on commentary repeated that super rookie statement, and you can see what they're trying to do with her. She's a very, very special commodity, and I thought this was the right story. I thought Nanae and Seri did need to win them. My negative, I don't understand why Bozilla and Tank took the belts off Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki in the first place, because Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki are heels. So it would have been the same sort of thing. I don't know if it was just because you wanted it to be more of a mountain for Nanae and Seri to climb, figuratively and, literally, because they're both giant women. But that being said, that aside, I thought this was a really good match. I thought the ending worked really well. I thought Tank was, again, a lot better in this match. But when she's opposite Bozilla, you do realize the difference in charisma, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this, and again, very much like what we talked about a few days ago with the Utami championship match Tank had. What you want to do is because she's still young. She's only had, I think you said, like 30, 40 matches, something
20
like that.
something matches. I think it's
Okay.
20. I think it's 30 now. Yeah.
So let's just say she's between 30 and 40 matches. So she's still young. So what you want to do is you want to accentuate her positives and hide her negatives. And obviously Utami did a great job at that on the show again that we just reviewed a few days ago. And the match starts off with a wild brawl. I'm like, okay, we Korakuen Hall, we're always down for a wild brawl. And as wild as the co-main event was, it didn't get anywhere near as wild as this. And we get basically just some great stuff all over the arena between these four wrestlers and these two teams. Especially then once it gets back in the ring, we would go right back to Nanae and Bozilla. And they've had two matches, I believe, in this very building before. And so these two, so again, I'm assuming majority of the people that are in this audience did see one, if not both those matches. So we get some great back and forth stuff there. I like how Bozilla gets the advantage because she's the stronger between her and Nanae, but Nanae is the more experienced. So what does Nanae do when Nanae's on the back foot? Dragon Screw Leg Whip, figure four. Simple strategy. It's just like, okay, you may be bigger, stronger, younger, faster, but I have the experience. I'm more cagey. So I like that. I thought Sarah did a great job on the sell here because you're right. You have the two mountain wrestlers here. And just in the name, Tank and Bozilla. Like if you've never seen Marigold before and you just heard Tank and Bozilla, this is probably what you would picture, right? Just these two just hard-hitting, excellent wrestlers. And again, Tank is improved so much so fast. Like when we saw that first match, we're like, ooh, okay, she's in Marigold, she's gonna get better, but she's gotten so much better already, and it's because she was across from Utami. She's in a match with Nanae Takahashi, which Nanae is probably talking to her before the match, during the match, and after the match. She's only going to get better. So yeah, I like that. We get the long heat there. Eventually, though, Nanae comes in. We see the return, Rob, of your favorite move, the Passion Package. The Passion Package, which I really liked. I like how Tank does I like how Tank does the boss man slam, but then Sari kicks out at one. Whosever idea it was for her to kick out of that big move at one is genius, because when she kicked out at one, she got a huge pop. Pop. Like the crowd was into this whole entire show in this match. It went up and down, back and forth, like you want crowd psychology to do. But from that point on, they were all about Sari Yamaoka, and the fact that like she kicked out at one and you build her up, and then she gets the win for that massive pop at the end. I thought was just genius crowd psychology. And again, the way Nanae takes out Bozilla and sets up the young rookie for success this match, I thought was terrific. And we get a great ending sequence with Tank and Sari. I thought was great, considering the fact that, again, between the two, they have 35, 40 matches between the two of them. And Nanae and Bozilla basically cleared the ring out of each other for these two in the legendary Korakuen Hall in the main event to have almost a mini match towards the end. But eventually we do see a deadlift German suplex. And I like how she hits the German suplex. And majority of the time you bridge, right? Utami's got a great bridging German suplex. Now Ishikawa has a great Takayama style bridging German suplex. But if Sari Yamaoka is going to be using the German suplex, I like how she hits the German suplex. She keeps the waist lock on. She keeps the gable grip and then rotates into almost like a pinning combination. I like that. If she's using that as a finish and she gets into a pinning combination that way, it's something different and makes her stand out on a roster that has a lot of great German suplexes. Really great match. Again, two great matches back to back to close out the show. Two great championship matches. I had this one at 4 stars. And the fact that going in, if you would have told me this was going to get over 19 minutes, I would have thought, what, you have two younger wrestlers. I don't know if they can carry a match for 19 minutes. They did a great job. They did a really, really great job. And obviously, again, a lot of credit goes to Nanae and Bozilla, basically, filling in the holes for the matches for these younger wrestlers. It gelled well. Crowd psychology. Crowd was into a good way to end a really good show. Again, 4 stars for me.
Yeah, and again, sort of piggybacking on what you said, we had the moment then where Yamaoka's in floods of tears. We have photos with Nanae and Yamaoka's family. It's a big sort of emotional moment. So to me, I don't feel like you can follow that. So to have this be the last moment was great. Bozilla and Tank, obviously, their alliance has disintegrated. It was Tank Bozilla, who accidentally speared Tank, and that led to Yamaoka being able to German suplex Tank. Where do they go from here? Because obviously Bozilla then turns on Tank, attacks Tank, and we now have a singles match between them scheduled in for, I believe, the 26th. What happens there? And with Tank, you've got this big, imposing person who's now lost 2 big matches already. Is it just a case of you have Tank against, a handful of people in singles matches, have her be dominant and her character's rehabbed, or do you think it's a little bit more than that? Because what is she going to do against Bozilla as well?
Depending on how Tank might only be in here for 3-4 weeks. If that's the case, Bozilla goes over. If not, if we're going to be seeing Tank in this company the next 3 or 4 months, Tank has to win, because it's not like she's like an underneath babyface eating L. She's probably like your biggest person. Her arms are just as big as Bozilla. She's taller than Bozilla, so it's like we have her lose to Utami, right? Rightfully so. We have her eat the fall here. And then do we have her lose to Bozilla? At that point, it's just like, okay, we have this monster that can't win. It's like almost watching a Godzilla movie, and then the first 10 minutes he gets taken out by the army, and then he gets taken out again by this, and then King Kong comes in and he lariats him, and it's like, well, the movie's, this is your biggest, most imposing person, but this monster's getting her ass kicked. So like, how am I supposed to believe that now? Okay, if she loses to Bozilla, that it's like, oh, she's wrestling Naho Ishikawa. Great, Naho Ishikawa's gonna kick her ass, because that's the process that we had, right? Now how Yamada's
come on, Hummingbird. Come
yes,
on.
right. Come on now. Come on, Megaton. Come on now, how Yamada. Right. So again, if she's only here a short time, and like her job is, we're gonna come in, you're gonna get experience, you're gonna go to the dojo, you're gonna learn from the best, and then you're gonna go back, and then maybe we'll bring you back in the summer. That's fine. Like if she's gonna keep coming back and forth, that's fine. But again, if she's gonna be here for another 3-4 months, she needs to beat Bozilla, because even though again you're losing to Super Rookie and Sarah Yamaoka, you lost to Utami, one of the best wrestlers in the world, not just this company, this world, and then you lose to the Beast Bozilla. That's you can get that, but at the same time, when you're as big as Tank and your name is Tank, and you're eating L's left and right, to me, you just look like you're just, you're somebody that's just here to eat L's. Which again, if she's only there a couple of weeks, that's fine, and then they bring her back and then build her back up. But if she's going to be here the next 3 or 4 months, she's got to beat Bozilla.
Yeah, and again, what you've got to think is as well, Bozilla is not a permanent member of this Marigold roster, so it'll be interesting to see when her contract or when her tour finishes. Because if her tour finishes in February, then she might well lose on her way out. However, I think I've read somewhere that she's got a year's contract or a year's tour or something like that, in which case she's obviously contracted till May. So in which case it's irrelevant. I don't know, though, so that could be something to keep an eye on as well. Looking ahead then, before we sign off, the next 2 dates of the New Year Golden Garden Tour are this weekend, the 25th on Saturday, and the 26th as well. 25th in Yokohama Radiant Hall. It'll be the first time. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. 25th is Radiant Hall. The first time the Marigold have run that venue. That card is as follows. Riara versus Ryoko Sakimura, Naho Ishikawa and Yuki Mashiro versus Ria Seto and Naho Yamada, Manami Yuki versus Tank. Got a feeling Tank might win that match. Natsumi Shozuki and Chikagoto versus Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki. Utami Hayashishita and Victoria Yuzuki versus Miku Ano and Seri Yamaoka. Nanae Takahashi versus Misa Matsui. Yes. One of the best passion injection matches we've had in Marigold so far. We're having a rerun of that. Mirai Saku, Mirai and Mai Sakurai versus Bozilla and Megaton. Now, I believe that this is live on Wrestle Universe Shinkiba. The following day absolutely is Night 6 on Sunday the 26th in Shinkiba. That is as follows. Ria Seto versus Naho Yamada versus Ryoko Sakimura. Nagisa Nozaki and Chiaki, the Dark Wolf Army, taking on Riara and Nao Ishikawa. Miku Ono and Natsumi Shozuki versus Chikagoto and Minami Yuki. Utami Hayashishita, Misa Matsui, and Seri Yamaoka versus Mirai Saku, Mirai and Mai Sakurai, and Victoria Yuzuki. And then I think what is currently scheduled as your main event, Bozilla and Tank. Matt, what are we looking forward to on these cards?
That 6-person with Utami, that looks really good. And Natsumi and Miko Ano teaming up, my man. Really looking forward to that. Again, maybe where we broke them down in Korakuen to build Misa Matsui up for that super flyweight championship. And maybe this is where we start building them up as a tag team because, boy, can you imagine them? They get the championship. They're on V1, V2, V3. And then Kazuna Tanaka comes back and we see a program with Ano and Natsumi versus Kazuna and Victoria Yuzuki. Oh, boy. That'll be right around the time of our birthdays. So I'm just saying.
Absolutely. And just quickly as well, that tag match on the Yokohama Meridian Hall show, Utami Hayashishita and Victoria Yuzuki versus Miku Ano and Seri Yamaoka, that could be very good as well. That is definitely worth checking out. But ladies and gentlemen, we promised it would be a short one, and for once, we have actually heeded our own promise. That is the end of today's episode because it's also the end of match lunch break. So we've managed to fit it in. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it. If you haven't already subscribed to the podcast, please consider subscribing. It would really, really help us out. We are literally everywhere. If you want to leave a 5-star review and a comment, that really helps us out as well, or just a rating on Spotify. Subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/thestardomcast if you like all of your episodes early and ad-free for as little as $1 a month, as well as a whole host of bonus content as well. Check out the website, talkjoshi.com, for all of your news, reviews, previews, histories, and all of the statistics from both Marigold and Stardom. You can find us on social media at the Marigold Podcast, or indeed Talk Joshi on Blue Sky, Threads, and Instagram. And then you can also talk to me on Twitter if you so wish at Real Rob Goodwin. Mr. Matt Turner, sign us off and then go back to work, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. Folks, if you are upset that this was a shorter episode, just listen to the Stardom Cast this week, because I have a feeling that one's going to be right around the 3 hour. We have a lot to cover, my friend, and I cannot wait to record tomorrow with you about that. But folks, questions, comments, suggestions, anything you need from me, Matt Turner OF, on the Instagram and the Twitter and the Blue Sky. If you want to shoot me an email, that's perfectly fine. The email address is simply thestardomcast22@gmail.com. Folks, we greatly appreciate your support. Can't do it without you. It's like I always say, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast. So all together, everybody's different. Everybody's special.